was waiting for us.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
We are.
We have made it to Friday.
And this is a very big weekend for South Carolina. And really, I feel like this kicks off what is going to be an extremely crowded Carolinas leading up to the election.
Yeah, because you got South Carolina tomorrow, of course, and then you've got North Carolina on Tuesday, which is the first time it's been like this. I mean, I don't
think it's ever been like this.
I was going to say, you'd have to ask a history professor. I know not in modern times has North Carolina and South Carolina been so close together. So exciting time to be here if you're into politics.
The interesting part, too, is that not only is that happening, President Trump is going to be in North Charleston.
And in Charlotte.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is he's in Charleston tonight before the primary tomorrow, and then he's in Charlotte Monday night before the primary here in North Carolina on Tuesday.
Yes.
That's what they do.
It's very strategic.
And then we have the RNC coming up in August.
Yeah, very smart of him to do.
So I wonder if all of these things, you know, when this kind of stuff happens, if you're not, and I hope everyone is into politics and wanting to vote, because we need to exercise our right to do that.
It's our right.
For sure. And people have fought and sacrificed so much just to be able to do it. But I wonder if you're not someone who's typically like super gung-ho on all this, if the excitement does get to you, which I think is good, and then it does get you more involved and more interested. I will say this, I think it's interesting how one of our coworkers here, her sons, who can't vote just yet, have become really, really engaged and into politics, which I think...
It's good they're starting as teenagers.
And
you grow up liking politics, interested in politics.
Right, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there has been so much emphasis on the Carolinas and a lot action happening here locally.
It starts at home. I mean,
for sure.
Your family, if your parents encourage it.
I can remember.
I can learn about it as a kid.
This is ridiculous. I can remember I was not popular in 4th grade because I had our teacher cancel our field trip because it was, I think, the night of the inauguration, or the day of the inauguration for George H.W. Bush.
Is
it was
that right?
1989.
Wait, you had the power as a 4th grader to...
I said we need to be watching this. This is history in the making.
Do you remember?
Exactly.
And they
you can imagine how well.
Do you remember what the field trip was?
Yeah, where was it?
I don't remember.
You weren't interested anyway, so you didn't care.
No.
It was probably at somewhere like really fun.
But my point being, and your point you were making about our colleagues' kids, is that if you start young, I know for me that's what I started really enjoying. It was because my grandparents were really into it, and my parents were really into it.
Well, you know, I remember as a little kid having to memorize all the presidents.
Yeah.
You know, that was just part of it. And so you start very young and learning about our presidents, the political system, and it's a process. And you know, I think encouraging kids to become interested is something as an American we should all do.
I totally agree.
Not apolitical,
but the other thing too is that, you know, not every child is blessed to be in an environment where they have people engaging them
100%.
And wanting them to learn and being involved in their lives. So the greatest part about this is because we talk so much about it and because it is in our area and we can't help but talk about it, I am hoping that even children who don't have family members or parents around even, or people who are engaged with them in that way, that they pick it up a little bit just by turning the TV on. Because I do think that the most powerful thing is someone who has a powerful mind and is willing to use it.
You're hoping they have a teacher in their life or a sibling or a cousin who can turn them on to it. Here's my little public service announcement. I feel like at this point most people have some idea of the presidential candidates and like who they like or who they're inclined to, even if it's not the most informed decision, they have some sort of opinion about it. It's the down ballot races that people are going to go in there and they're not going to recognize any of the names.
County commissioners.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is,
and these things are important too.
And listen, we are all. I will be the first one to say I will go in there and not recognize half the people. So this is not just, you know.
You really do need, and the great thing, one thing that I've noticed in the past that's been done, and I've always enjoyed this fact that even though they may endorse our local newspaper, the Shaw Observer always has information there about who's on the ballot. So, and you don't have to go with their endorsement, but at least the candidates
for the information. I tweeted out this morning where you can go find your sample ballot, because it's different depending on where you live. Even within Charlotte, it's going to be different about who's on the ballot and whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or unaffiliated. And Charlotte Agenda, shout out to the folks at Charlotte Agenda, they did a great article this morning about the treasurer's race. Well, no one knows a darn thing about the treasurer's race, but it's important. That's like the chief banker of North Carolina. On Flashpoint last week, we had Ronnie Chatterjee. He's a gentleman running and was a super impressive guy. Dimple Ajmira, of course, running as well. We've had her on. Super interesting guy, was a chief economist for President Barack Obama. I think dude is like 30-something, has 3 kids, a professor at Duke.
Really?
A super impressive. And you have.
Are you endorsing him?
No, absolutely not. But all 3 candidates in the Democratic primary for treasurer are all under the age of 41.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting, and that's impressive.
And then you compare that to those who are among many running for president.
Yeah.
The elevated ages of some of those ones who are getting more votes.
It's interesting to me to see, and also of course county commission. That's the most local of all the races. So.
And then every community, like in Matthews, we have the county commissioners
Precisely.
and their judges, district judges.
And those are very important.
You just and once again, for me, it's not in the Shaw Observer, but I read all the local newspapers, the Mint Hill newspaper, the Matthews newspaper. That information is there, so it's available. You have to sometimes look for it, search for it, and obviously it's online.
Yeah.
About those individuals.
You know, you're so right, though. I'm just trying to think back of times when I've gone in and I have such a clear idea of so many of the things I'm trying to.
And then you get in there and you're like.
And then there's one, and I'm like, I've never heard of any of these people, and then you just vote based on the name, and that's silly.
Yeah.
Right, to do that. So
That's
so it is
why those
good
little
to.
signs out there that are in every block, and that's why some of the signs are more creative. The names are larger.
It's like name recognition
or
at that
maybe
point.
a different kind of name, and that's the one you recall.
The colors or the font,
pull the lever on that one.
And there's also, Larry talks about endorsements, but also, I mean, if it's not a newspaper, almost all the politically active community groups out there will put out their endorsements.
Right.
You know, whether it's an African American group, a gay rights group, or something like that, they're all going to put out endorsements.
League of Women Voters,
100%. So at a minimum, and I've never been a big fan of just voting straight ticket,
like across the board,
or voting how any one group tells you. But you're at least inspired by by those choices, and you can.
I like to vote for the individual regardless.
100%.
And sometimes
You are an independent.
Well, sometimes it's harder to do it that way, and that's why there are many times you look at the name and go, I can't remember that name.
Yeah.
But if you look at the ballot before you go in, have a chance to do that, then that's what we encourage people to do. Is someone talking to us?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got somebody's mic up. I don't know who it is, but I don't want them to say anything bad on TV because they probably don't realize their mic's up. I don't know who. Okay, it's gone there.
You know, this is on topic, but not something we discussed that we were going to talk about. I find it very interesting, and I'm wondering how much it's going to come up. Mike Bloomberg, who is running to be the Democratic
I think he's a billionaire, multi-billionaire.
nomination, for nomination for president. He was a Republican,
Yeah.
then an independent,
Yep.
now a Democrat. I wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders, obviously, he's an independent, running as a Democrat, and it is interesting.
Right.
I think there will be like history classes that will look at Mike Bloomberg's campaign here in North Carolina, regardless of how well he does, because he really dumped a lot of money in here. Charlotte was his very first field office in the country. In the country, he's got 10 of them across the state. He has as much banking on North Carolina as just about anybody does coming up on Tuesday. He's got a bunch of endorsements from the mayor here. Smudgy Mitchell is his campaign director, of course, a city councilman. He's gone all in on North Carolina, which has really never happened, because typically we're later in the process, for one. Yes. And for two, there's usually at that point of the race either already decided, or there's so many other states that no one state can get all the attention.
We mentioned Bloomberg. It should be interesting to look back in history. I don't think this has happened where you've had a candidate with that type of money spend the amount of money that they have on a campaign. I know that John F. Kennedy had a tremendous amount of money spent, but not to the extent of Bloomberg. And the question, can you buy your way into the presidency? We'll find out. We'll know in November.
You know, the other thing to me that is interesting is there was and maybe this is just the way it is nowadays, but there was a definitive, I remember the day, I don't remember like the date, I'm just saying, there was a pre-Mike Bloomberg in the campaign and post, because he was everywhere. Yeah. Radio ads, commercials, online, like it was a huge push. Yeah. And I think there is something to be said for being everywhere, right? There's a reason why these ads work.
Oh, the other candidates would die
to have the kind of money.
To have that sort of resource. I mean, what you don't understand is these candidates are on the phone hours and hours and hours. When you're not seeing them on TV, they're on the phone begging people for money.
That's part and he doesn't have to do that.
That's part of the gig. That's part of the gig.
And to get to doing like charity donor things to get
Their biggest job is fundraising.
And he doesn't have to do that.
He doesn't have to do that.
So if you eliminate that part of it, can you imagine all the things he can focus on?
You point that out. You cannot escape an ad. I mean, like on YouTube, I love.
They're everywhere.
You can't escape it.
It's everywhere.
His name is blasted out there.
The other thing, really quick, because I know we're going to go. I was reading about this, how interesting it is that everybody, because of South Carolina and North Carolina, everybody is, all of the Democrats are trying to attach themselves to Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Because South Carolina, he's so popular there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that Barack Obama is like, I am not endorsing anyone.
Yeah.
Well, Bloomberg, luckily for him, he had so many appearances with.
Right, but so they have been invoking this endorsement. A lot of them have, but he has not endorsed anyone.
Supposedly the Republican Party's been airing some ads in South Carolina. I've not seen them. I just heard the news yesterday that uses some of Obama's words against Joe Biden. They're out of context. And he's actually sued them to stop them, to be like, okay, this is going too far, guys. This is not what I said. So he has stepped in that case. But other than that, he's been hands off, which I think is good. You don't want. I mean, he has too much power in this decision making as it is. You don't want him like tipping the scales in favor of somebody. I think that's all our time, isn't it?
That's it.
Wow. All right, hey guys, go vote and have a great weekend.
See you Monday.